All right, so we have a financial health check today, and this is a really, really in-depth one. There's a lot to cover, and let's get after it, guys. Okay, so this is a 29-year-old married individual making over $100,000 a year, roughly about $146,000 per year specifically. They are a mother of one 9-month-old baby. They have a confidence out of 1 of 10 with their financials about a 6. They're confident, or they're feeling around the mindset around money is about an 8, so pretty good around the mindset. A little less confident with the overall financial picture, which I know why, and we'll get to it as we talk. But it's mainly they're lacking a full financial system and actually utilizing the tools that are given to them. The total cash is about $12,750. They're using brokerage investment firms of Charles Schwab and Wealthfront. It's not Wealthfront, by the way, for anyone listening. It's Wealthfront. Current assets in retirement about $24,000. Roth IRA is $4,500 specifically, and they have the breakout of all the other accounts as you can see here. I'm not going to go into details. They have current non-retirement assets of $1,000. They have a 529 listed above of $1,000 per month that is going to that. And then they have 1550 currently being invested. Based on that, they have the breakout again down here for the retirement assets plus other assets as well. 457 pension, Roth IRA, FSA, 529, etc. There is a note that these are just my investments, not including my husband's. We'll talk about that one as well. Current debt, non-mortgage debt that is $207,000. That is consisting of cars plus a bunch of student loans here, as you can see. And then they have some insurance, vehicle insurance, like basic car insurance, life insurance with work, not sure. Home insurance, not sure it's calculated with the monthly payment. It is if you're with escrow. And then medical insurance, dental, cancer, and short-term disability. Mine and half of my daughter's $201 a month. They do not have a tax planner. They do not have a financial advisor, and they do not have a trust and will. So with that all being said, that is a lot to cover, and we're going to break down their specific financial statements. And again, this is all confidential, but it's a really good overview of exactly what I would do in their situation. And there's a lot, so let's break this down. First things first is I'm going to go into the steps I would take, and this is just an overview. They have a negative $100,000 net worth at this point in time. A lot of it's driven by their debt. So their student loans, obviously, is $161,000, and their vehicles are $46,000. Obviously, there's some mortgage debt here, but it's counteracted with a real estate, obviously, an asset in itself. So it's a positive overall to the net worth. But these student loans and these vehicles do not match up with anything else that's sitting here. So when I'm looking at their investments across the board, I'm not seeing a lot of investments whatsoever, but I'm seeing a lot of debt. And we have to reverse that today, okay? So steps I would take is the first thing is assess credit cards. I know there's only $50 here, but it's more so the principle behind this. Number one, you're paying this off today with just the $50 you owe. But the biggest thing, guys, this is a Costco and a Loft credit card. So these aren't typical credit cards that you're used to, like, swiping for your basic expenses. We're talking like clothes. We went to a store like a JCPenney, a Loft, or somewhere like that, and we got a store credit card. Those are detrimental to your success. Get rid of them. I don't care if it hurts your credit score at all, honestly, in this situation. I typically wouldn't shut down credit cards in general, but in this situation, I would for a Loft and Costco. It just does not make sense whatsoever, and I want to get rid of this guy. Not only pay him off, but just close it and be done with it. At least just toss it, and if they close it, the credit bureaus within years because of non-use, that's fine as well. Just get rid of this credit card. It's doing you nothing but damage. Okay, so that's the first one, assess credit card debt. Pretty easy step, right? The second one is some budget notes. So I'm going to call these out because I actually saw these just with notations throughout kind of assessing the files. So there was a few things I saw here. The first one I saw was, the first note just was kind of like left up here. So I just caught it when I was doing the review. This is for February, haven't calculated for March. So first off, we're recording in January. So we're not even using this template correctly. If you don't use tools correctly, if I take a hammer and I swing it at my friend's head, I'm probably not going to get a lot of results, unless you don't like that friend, of course. But I'm not using the tool appropriately. I'm not using it for a nail. And so if I'm not using this tool appropriately, you're not going to get good results. And the reason why we feel a 6 out of 10 on confidence is because all these financials uploaded to me are a total wreck, respectfully. And so if you think that you're going to get results, you're crazy. Like, you're absolutely crazy. So you're putting this in January. You're not even calculating everything. These are estimates because they're all round numbers. You're not going to get real results. Not only is this thing a mess, and there's a ton of room to actually do here and perform at a much better level, but you're not even using it. And so people come to me all the time. They're like, why don't I get results? It's because this. Exactly. I'm going to call you out. So if you want results, use the tools the right way, actually follow the trainings, actually ask the questions, or you're going to get crappy results. And if you estimate, you're going to get estimated results, which are even worse. This is piss poor, and I'm going to call you out until you get actual results. So let's walk back through the other stuff here. So that was the budget note. Like I said, busted. We can't just have stuff all misaligned. Another note. So you mentioned specifically, this is just mine, but I'm married. Now, I'm not saying you have to combine finances necessarily, but my question to you would be, what is the status? And this is not my place necessarily, and I'm not saying to answer this question, but I'm going to ask you and challenge you on this. How is the relationship? Because typically what happens is finances are showing it's, kind of making its ugly head come out. But the reality is, if you're not sharing finances and you're splitting, there's something off there. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So again, even if you're not sharing the same bank account or you're not sharing the same investment account, it doesn't mean the plan of attack should not be together. That should always be together. That's without question. As far as, hey, this is my account, this is her account, whatever the case is, if you want to play that game, that's fine. I don't personally do that, but I don't judge if you do that. However, you're still in a relationship. You're still should be going the same direction together, even if you're not doing that. And I saw a note, obviously here listed at the bottom. I forget where it was specifically. Let's see. This is, where did I see that note? Let's see. Oh, these are just my investments, not including my husband. So I saw it there, and I also saw it over in the budget at the very, very top. One of these places, I saw it. Where did I find it? I don't remember. There was a note somewhere you left, right up here maybe. House payment, utilities, $529 are only portion of total, as my husband puts in the rest. So there is a big discrepancy when he and she are doing different things, and it creates massive amounts of inaccuracies. And the estimates are showing its ugly head here as a result. So I would question you to speak with your spouse and ask yourself why you guys aren't doing this together. And does that create a bigger conversation about a relationship? Just going to be very, very blunt and honest about that, because I see it happen often. I've worked with over 2,000 people. I've seen a lot. I speak from experience, and this does not come from a judgmental place, but I do see this to be the number one thing as to people that aren't together are actually having other issues. And we work with behavioral psychologists in Budgetdog Academy in order to solve for these problems, because they are a big problem for the numbers that we're looking at today. Now, the big thing is the budget realignment. The budget realignment, guys, we have to take a look at what's going on over here. So again, inaccuracy galore. First off, I want to highlight these two big debts. So car expenses, obviously I know that's insurance and gas on top of it, but the loan is in that. So you have $1,200 plus $1,000 total over here. Your actual debt payments are $2,200. So if you free up that cash flow from paying off these debts, you're going to have so much more money on a monthly basis back in your pockets. The next piece of it is, I realized that you're paying extra to the car and the house, but that makes no sense from a financial perspective, at least the house at this point in time, based on the rates that I've seen. So if we're trying to aggressively pay stuff off, the house makes the least amount of sense in this situation until we attack the credit card debt, number one, which is $50, pay that off. And then on top of that, we have student loans, ranging from 4% all the way up to 7% based on the submission that you provided. And that is the main focus if you're paying off extra amounts of debt. Then car payment would be after that, because I think it's at 6%. So the focus should not be the house. It should be everything else. So that $50 does not make sense. But as you can see, the summary of extra debt payments is $250. Now, the other thing is, remember, this is take-home pay. So we start this whole entire budget with take-home pay, which you tell me to be $92.60, which makes sense based on assumptive taxes and all that, and looking at your paycheck stub as well, which I saw. If you're making take-home pay of this, but in here you're adding specifically your pre-tax investments, which is pension, 457, FSA, and medical insurance, this is double accounting. So you are doing this twice. It's already come out of your paycheck, then you got your take-home pay. So it's already accounted for. Now what you're doing is taking out below this. So your numbers aren't accurate at all. And so you have $1,295 summed up here between these 4 line items that should be back in your pocket, in fact. So if we take out specifically your real expenses, and we take out your true income, which based on what you're sharing with me, which I don't have a lot of confidence at this point in time, is specifically $92.60 a month, or if you look at the summary tab, it looks like it's the same every single month. If you do take that specifically and you do back out your extra debt payments to realign your true free cash flow, and you take out your pre-tax, which you double accounted for, you actually only have real expenses of $62.65. If on top of that, you take out your total income minus your new expenses with the adjustments, you actually have almost $3,000 of true free cash flow. And if I look at your summary, there is no zero-based budgeting going on. Number one is January is barely even, I don't even know if that's accurate. And based on what you provided, because you said it was February, but it's not fully done for March. You don't have anything in February or March, and there's no additional stuff included here in any of those months. So there's no consistency or automation going on anyway. So there's so many errors. This is so correctable. That's the cool thing about this. This is why I'm doing this, because I can literally change your life tomorrow if you lock this in. So number one is that's the most important piece, to become aware of your true free cash flow, because when you go through and you look at the process that I'm walking you through right now, your budget realignment to understand your true free cash flow is going to be pivotal to move on to the next steps. If I don't know everything going on in my budget, or I'm adding things just because I think it's part of my situation, but it doesn't truly reflect my cash balance in my bank statement because I'm double accounting things that should not be here. I'm adding extra debt payments, which should not make sense, right? At least in this current situation, I'm adding a 529 right here specifically, but that should be an investment section. And then I go over into the investment section in particular, and I have double accounting again because I have the 529 listed here, specifically $1,050. So it's added in two spots, which are inconsistent on top of that. It's also a different amount, meaning there's no automations involved, and it sounds like it's a month-to-month decision, which is a major issue. And we have the FSA here. Like the FSA should be, and you don't even know if it's an FSA. Guys, we have so many issues here. And there's not going to be a good result if we guess with this stuff. And so this should be taken out naturally. The 529 should be accurate, but again, it's double accounted for. So you technically should be taking it out of this situation here, which would add back in extra cash flow. So if we add back your, let's call this investments, we really should be adding this $50 back into the equation. So when we think about cash flow, we should be adding that back plus this. Boom. So we really have, wait, I went the wrong direction. I apologize, guys. We should have $3,045 in true free cash flow. Now, once all of these are actually set and they're truthful and they're accurate going forward, like the real numbers show out, which it looks like based on your actuals, they do actually show the total to be, 79.35, and you projected 78.10. So you're pretty close on the actuals that do show here based on what I'm seeing. But again, these are estimates, and I don't believe these are actual grocery expenses. I don't think that actually amounted to exactly $500. And this shouldn't be a hard process. If you're worried about putting too much time into the pennies, you're missing the entire point. Because the process that we take everybody through is to link to an actual app or your bank statement that summarizes everything for you. And so that you don't have to guess. You don't have to enter every transaction. You just get the sum total, but you do get it to the penny. So everything's categorically correct. And assuming that's the case, you can get the total exact number, so you're not guessing. You're guessing. And when you guess, you get very, very bad results, if any results, to be honest, because you're just making things up. And so I can notice here the extra car payment doesn't even happen this month. So it doesn't even look like this is consistent. This looks like it's just made up. And that's why I'm calling everything out, because if you do fix this, like we will fix a problem in a major way. So we then get our true free cash flow. And if we look at the budget, like I said, and like I showed here, we would have an extra $3,045 a month. This is an incredible spot to be. So if I'm looking at a summary in a given month and I'm actually doing this right, let's just say we're in April, 9260, and then our expenses I'm going to pull from this exact expense right here, 6215. This means this is 3,045. So if I'm looking at this in the summary view, this is what it should look like in an ideal scenario. This is assuming this is accurate. This is assuming all these expenses are fixed and automated, which we'll get to in a second. And this is assuming your 3,045 is consistent every single month, which it should be if everything else is accurate. So if that's the case, now I want to use that true free cash flow for the goals that I have to speed my journey up. Let's go back to the goals. We have student loan debt. We have some credit card debt we want to get rid of. We already got rid of it kind of. We have a car debt. We want to start investing. We don't have enough retirement assets ready for us, and we need to adjust this in a major way. So we know this is our answer right here, 3,045. We've adjusted accordingly. We've now set this up to be all automated. Now let's see what the next step is. So the next step is update to automation. And the reason why I said the example was the extra car payment is because when you actually look at the expenses of the actuals that come through, you see extra car payment is 0 in the month of January, although this says this is February, haven't calculated for March. So that tells me that you're just deciding month to month if it should be an extra payment. Let me be very clear when I say this. Automation is going to be your best friend in this situation. The reason that you're estimating, the reason you're manually doing all this, and the reason you get no results, and you're in the position right now with a negative $100,000 net worth is because of everything you're doing, and I'm saying not to do. I don't say that to shame anybody. I say that because this is the opportunity right in front of your face. Like if you adjust what I'm saying, you will literally go from a negative 100,000 to plus $1 million. You will, within a matter of time. And it will be fairly quick with this income. And you do have a very, very prime opportunity right in front of you that if you just listen to what I say and you follow the stuff I talk about in my national bestseller, the roadmap to financial freedom, or the stuff I talk about in Budgetdog Academy, which is exactly a replica of the roadmap to financial freedom, to which myself as well as 2,000 plus students are following, this will drastically change in a really, really meaningful way. I'll give you guys some examples. So we have to automate this process. If you don't automate the expenses, you don't, and even if there's variable expenses at play, you still can automate most of this or have a very good historical look back to know what the amount's going to be, generally speaking. You know how much your groceries are. You can go online every single week and order the same amount of groceries. You know the price. You can estimate that pretty well. You get a pretty plus or minus $50 if you do this estimate the correct way. All of the other things here look like pretty much fixed expenses. We also have other things like travel fund showing up here that should be a sinking fund over here. So we have our vacation sinking fund listed here, and you look over here, you see a travel fund. That's an additional $250 added back. So if I really truly want to get like true free cash flow, and I go back down to my budget here, I really can then add back another $250, which again, I'm finding this real time as I'm speaking, is an extra, well, $200, you have it listed here. So travel fund. And if I add this back into the equation or subtract this out, which would add back the cash flow, free cash flow from 3,045 to 3,245, your cash flow just continues to increase. You make a ton of money. This is a huge opportunity. Like you literally could crush life in a matter of seconds if you just listen to what I'm saying. And so $3,245 is really what we got. If I go to the summary that shows 3,245, I now have a true snapshot of where I'm at. Then we automate this whole process so this stays consistent. Obviously, your income's automated through your paycheck. All of your expenses are automated. Your true free cash flow, what's left over at the end of the month, that goes straight to your checking account as of now until we put it places, will be 3,245. Now we can automate this other process down here. Ideally, what we want to do is go to savings and investments, 3,245. It will come out to be 0. That's what we want. That's what we're going to do now. So I look back into this and I understand I've updated automations. I've assessed the credit cards. I've checked the budget notes that I've seen. I've checked into my spouse relationship because that's an important piece of this conversation. And this will throw things, out of whack if we don't pay attention to that. It's not something to mess around with. We've aligned the budget. We've gotten our true free cash flow to 3,245 truly. We've updated all of our automations so that we aren't deciding every month what happens. Now we want to adjust our investing framework. And also I'm going to put on top of that, assess debt payoff. Now we have, remember, $3,245 cash flow. So I'll even put that here. So we have $3,245 cash flow per month to use. That's a very important piece. Now is the decision, do we pay off debt? Do we invest? Do we do both? I'm going to show you what those amounts would actually turn into. So if we go to your amortization schedule, another thing I saw was there was a car loan listed here, but unfortunately there was no student loan. So I added that. So we have $161,000 of student loans. If we look at the balance sheet and we're looking at the detail of the balance sheet, we have down here, we've not paid this off, but now we have because it's step one. But now we have this guy right here has not been accounted for. So we have $46,000. And why is this estimated? Because if you go to the balance sheet over here, or the amortization schedule, my car loan's $46,553. That is not aligned with the $46,000 estimate. We need to be precise. This is an estimate. And the more you estimate, the more you get off, because there's round numbers that can really play and throw you off in a major way. So again, update your vehicle to exactly whatever that amount is. I think, what was it? 46,553. You can literally copy and paste that over. It should exactly equal whatever it is in the current month. Pay special values, boom. Okay, that's the first step. Now, the next thing is I want to address these guys. Now, every one of these debts, according to your submission here, has a different interest rate and a different probably timeline, and also, of course, balance. Now, I didn't do this because I'm not going to do this for you, but the student loan, I just added the total balance and I did an average of 5%. What you want to do is list every one of those debts should have a specific amortization schedule for that. I'm just doing a general overview. So if I have an extra $3,245 per month and I'm paying $1,000 fixed per month, which again doesn't seem like it would be accurate, how quick can I pay this off? So initially this is going to take probably 10 years. If I pay an extra $3,245, I take all of that extra free cash flow in this situation, which I'm not necessarily saying doing, I'm just showing you what would happen. The $3,245 would have this paid off in about 41 months that is. 41 months, as you guys know, is about 3.4 years. So instead of having debt for 10 years, we could pay this off in 3.4 years if we use that free cash flow to pay this off. The only reason I know that, and again, this is even an estimate because I don't know the actual interest rate, and I haven't broken them out by specific debts, which I would do, and then I would do a waterfall analysis like I always talk about. Again, I'm not going to spend 40 hours to put this together when we have trainings to do so. And you should be doing this and taking accountability yourself. So when we have this listed out, guys, we know for a fact, like if we just automate this process, go in our student loan portal and put $3,245, which I'm not saying is the answer, but I'm saying if you do that, you would pay this off in 41 months. That's the power of understanding your true free cash flow and knowing your true free cash flow, not an estimate of true of cash flow. Now, let's say on a reverse angle, let's say we decide to, go in a different direction. Let's say we decide to invest this money into let's use a compound interest calculator. Let's use my specific one. So this compound interest calculator is phenomenal, and it's actually branded to be mine because it's the best in the game. So let's just say, based on what you have right now, if I go over to your balance sheet and I see where you currently sit, I see your retirement assets are at $24,000. I do not see any non-retirement assets. I see an HSA, but again, this should be an FSA because you told me an FSA. You do not have an HSA. That's a totally different thing. But if I'm looking over here and I see the investments, I see $24,773. So I'm going to say that we are starting at $24,743 as our initial investment. Okay. I know specifically that we're not investing the appropriate amount, and we have debt payments going all over the place. But if we look at our actual breakdown of the situation over here in the budget, and we go to this category, we know our add backs were the pre-tax that was double accounted for. So we were investing $12.95 technically speaking. We added back the investment that was double accounted for. We added back the travel fund double accounted for. Our true expenses were that, which our true free cash flow after this was $32.45. Now, of course, we're going to have these debt payments back once this debt's paid off, to where our true free cash flow after that on a monthly basis, which is why is so substantial to know, is after debt paid off, we'll have $54.45. This is a significant amount of cash per month. Like on average, based on my pace to become a millionaire, this is what we were averaging per month investing. You have literally exactly what I have. This is why I call people out, because you don't have an income problem. You have a you problem. And the faster that you use our tools and resources to get you to where you need to go, and you just become aware and you don't estimate, you don't half-ass this, you're going to get the same result I got. This is why all my students get the results I get, because they don't half-ass things. And so it really upsets me when I see people out there with the potential and they're the first ones to say, I don't make enough, or, it's not easy for me. Yes, it is. You have exactly the amount of cash flow to become a millionaire in the same pace that I became a millionaire in, if you just apply this, which is a good thing. And I don't mean this in a bad way, but you have to wake up from your situation, because it's right in front of me. You have like LeBron James potential of finance, and you're literally sitting on your hands. So let's try this first. So let's do 3245 as our process. And we're going back to this. We're only 29 years old. We have a lot of time left, to give you guys perspective. So let's assume 10% return, which is historical annual returns. Let's just assume you're 29 and you want to retire in 20 years. If you do everything we just talked about, you will have $3 million at the end of those 20 years. You will be 49 years old and have $3 million to your name with just your investments, not including any other assets like real estate, home, cars, things of that nature, cash. You have $3 million. This is the potential you have. Let's take this to 30 years. So you're 59. You're still before retirement age, theoretically. Look how big of a jump that takes. $8.8 million in 30 years if you just do what I'm talking about. The pace that we're on right now is a lot less. So we have 2473. Let's just say we have, and here's the other thing. I'm assuming you're going to get a 10% return with what I talk about, which I can almost guarantee if I look at what you're doing under the hood of your investment accounts themselves, like that I see right here. I can't tell you for confidence that you're going to get a 10% return. I bet if I see Voya, I see work plan account, pension plan, I guarantee you're not getting, and I guarantee you're not going to get 10%. I can almost guarantee that. I would put my money based on my experience of understanding what potentially and likely is to occur, but also the estimates of what's going on and what I've seen. I can guarantee I change your life by 7 figures easily. And so 30 years old in the same situation, you're pacing for 3.8 versus what I'm talking about would be $8.7 million. But let's take this a step further. So let's just say we do this, and I'm not saying to do it. I'm saying let's just say the first 3 years, like I talked about, we pay off all of our debt. We don't invest in anything. And I'm not saying to do this. Let's just say 3245 is what we do for the first 3 years. So we have 27 years left in this 30-year period. And after that process, we do start to invest 5445. So instead of 3245, I take this down to 27 years. Let's do 17 years to begin, because let's do a 20-year period first, and then let's do it over the other period, 30 years, 5445. So if I take this to 5445, you'll have $33.4 million at the end of the 20-year period, assuming the first 3 years were used to pay off debt. You take that to 27 years, and you'd have $10.4 million. So all in all, whether you pay off your debt fast, whether you pay it off slower, you're probably going to have near 8 figures in your investment portfolio if you do exactly what I'm talking about. That is such a substantial change, and why I get so sick to my stomach when I see people just going through the basics and estimating and just doing their own process, because I see this right in front of your face. And you have the opportunity to choose this if you would like, because your situation even allows for it. It's not even hey, I have to make more money first to do this. You literally are making enough money. So you have the opportunity to do this, which is awesome to see. And so when we look at this process and we see all the opportunities sitting in front of us, it's exciting, but you have to take the action. We have to set up the automations. We have to pay off the debts. We have to walk through this. We have to update our amortization schedules. We have to actually use the amortization schedules correctly. We have to break out each student loan. We have to update the exact balances on here. We have to figure out where our cash flow actually should be going at what point. And you can see a note here is extra 1,000 at the end of the year, 500 in the middle. Spread that out. You're reducing your principal at a quicker rate. If you already had the money, spread it out. And then automate it, like I said. And then here's the other things that we have to be considering as well. So adjusting the investing framework in the assessed debt payoff. We talked about the timelines overall. But if I actually look at your detail of your investments, and specifically your overall, so you're actually only investing 1540, which is your $12.95 times 12 divided by your actual overall income, that's 11%. You should at least be at 15% at a bare minimum. Obviously, $32.45 per month divided by 146 is going to be even larger than 15%, which is where I'm really having you at. But at a bare minimum, let's do 34.45 divided by, let's do times 12. 41.30 divided by that, you'd be at 28% based on what I was talking about with the full cash flow applied to your investments, which would be a ton, right? That'd be a lot, which is why you're going to have $10 million. But if you do just up to 15% as a base rule of thumb, which you're a little shy of right now, the first thing I would do is I would do my 401k up to match. My second thing I would do would be, and again, this is a general rule of thumb, my Roth IRA max out. My third would be 401k to up to 15%. And then let's do 4, probably taxable brokerage or HSA, depending on the situation. And you do have some HSA investments or FSA investments, so probably HSA first, which I'm actually going to adjust that to say HSA. And then 5 is taxable brokerage account as part of this situation. And so it's such a beautiful situation you have, to be honest. And if you do take the proper steps or you reach out to me and get the help, and if you guys are looking to upgrade your financial life and join Budgetdog Academy, talk with my team right now. Go in the show notes below and you can book a call with my team right this second. Do not mess up. Don't cost yourself 7 figures. That's just silly. Just go talk to my team. Be smart. So, okay, if we look at this and we look at the situation in the kind of the general framework right here, let's just say you have a 3% match. So 146 times 0.03 is a general rule of thumb. I don't know what that match actually is. 43.80. My next thing is $7,000 because I know that's the max I can do. And my next would be let's do 15%, 146 times 0.15, which is 21.9. So I would do basically 21.9 would be my total. Minus step 1, minus step 2 is 10,520. So my total is, again, equals the same amount as I just looked at, 21,900, which is then, again, 15% of my total. So that's what I want to go to my investments and my retirement investments specifically. If I sum up 1 plus 3 in this situation, I know 14,900 goes to my 401k, and I know 7,000 goes to my IRA. So I would do 401k, IRA, pretty simple, straightforward. And then as far as setting up the automations, because that's what you're going to do, they're going to ask you how much percent do you want to put in there. 14.9 divided by 14.6 would be, roughly speaking, 10%. You can round up to 11 if you want, 10.21. And then you can do $7,000 divided by 26 pay periods because that's not at your employer. And you would set up an automation to be $269.23 every 2 weeks going to your Roth IRA. That would be a general rule of thumb. Over and above that, because you have a ton of extra money if you want to, the 28%, you do have, technically speaking, this times 0.28, or you could look at it like this, 32.45 times, let's do equals this times 12. You really have 38,940 at your disposal. 38,940 minus 21,900 would be 17,400 extra. The HSA, since I don't know if it sounds like you're married based on the commentary. You would do let's call it 85.50 would be the total minus whatever your employer matches, usually like $500 for the HSA. And then you would have a remaining portion of 17,000 minus that. And then you would have 86.90 to your taxable brokerage. That's literally your investment framework right there. If you want to break it out even further, you would do HSA over here. Whatever, it always does that in Excel at first, in taxable brokerage. And you would do your total amount. So 14,000, you would 10%. You would have your HSA being this, obviously. You would have your taxable brokerage being this, obviously. You divide that by 26 pay periods. You divide this one by 26 pay periods. I'm going to do, obviously, your 10% for your 401k, but let's just do that divided by 26 pay periods to show you the actual amounts. Take that. Divided by 26. Okay, perfect. And then we would take the sum total on the monthly, on every 2 weeks or whatever the case is, because everything's coming out bi-weekly. I know my total, oops, I didn't mean to do sum, would be $14.97 every 2 weeks. Times that by 26. Again, you're getting to $38,940. It all ties back together. Obviously, I'm just showing you kind of the circular math behind this. But this is your monthly amounts or your biweekly amounts for each one of these accounts based on exact framework. Of course, your goals, what you're trying to specifically accomplish will not probably be that, but this gives you a really good idea where you could be. And with that being said, let's go back to the last two pieces, which are proper insurance and proper tax planning. I can tell you right now, based on you don't have a tax planner, so you need to fix that. We have plenty of referrals in our network. Just reach out. And if you're in the Millionaire Club or Budgetdog Academy, I'll show you exactly where that's at. Obviously, this is a Millionaire Club submission. But in the Academy, you go to our referrals, and you can see everybody here under taxes, specifically for taxes. So if you want to find a CPA for planning, you can do Mark Kohler, for example. You can do, Brandon, for example, for all-in-one / tax planning, up to you. That is a costly mistake not to do proper tax planning, by the way. So that's one of your issues, proper tax planning, number 9. Going back to number 8, if I go back over here and I look down at your insurances, you say, obviously, life insurance with work, that's not enough. You need term life insurance, and you need 10 to 12x your income, probably more. Probably a more adjusted amount for your situation specifically. That's a general rule of thumb. And then your home insurance is calculated within your monthly payment. And then your medical insurance, dental, cancer, and short-term disability is not just medical. That's short-term disability is a good thing to have, but you also are missing long-term disability here. Long-term disability is a coverage that you want outside of your employer without question. Do not put it within your employer hands to have life insurance, term life insurance, or long-term disability. There are other things like umbrella insurance that you're probably missing. There's other things like ID theft protection, which is more so an not exactly insurance, but an important piece of the puzzle to have. And so there's other things at play. And you need to be insured because you need to protect your money, which is what we talk about. When we talk about in Budgetdog Academy specifically, guys, we talk about my framework. So if I broke this whole entire academy down in like 3 bullets and just showed you overall, it's track your money, grow your money, protect your money. Tracking your money is what we went through with the cash flow, free cash flow, knowing where everything's going. Growing your money is investing it, the compound interest calculator. Protecting your money is the tax planning, estate planning, all that stuff, which is the last piece. And the final piece is you don't have a will or trust or any directives. That is something you have to get. So again, we have people for that as well in our referral network. And this was a lengthy video, but it was for good reason because you have a potential, remember, to go to $10 million in 27 years if you would like. That's up to you. We're here to help if you guys would like. And if anybody else wants help to get to these levels and these numbers, these are real numbers right in front of your face. You have the option to choose by going in the show notes below and booking a call with my team and taking this to the next level. Appreciate each and every one of you guys, and I will talk to you soon.